Alrighty, hello everybody, welcome to the beginning of the end. This is the last match of 4-Digit Mania World Cup 2024, and it is going to be Vietnam versus the United States. The battle for it all, our Seed 1 versus our Seed 4. I'm Walmart5193. Joining me in the commentary booth is going to be none other than Juan Crystal. Juan Crystal, how's it going?
Hello, Walmart. How you doing?
I'm doing all right.
It's great because, I'm excited as always when 4DM matches happen. But this time specifically, considering it's the grand final, United States looking quite sharp after defeating Vietnam fairly comfortably, 7-1. They are looking to challenge Vietnam. They have not faced before this tournament, so it will be their first time seeing each other here, these two teams. The United States will have been able to place against Vietnam on the semi-finals winners bracket had they not lost against the Philippines, which they did. So, yeah, it's the first time we're seeing these two teams matching up, and US is looking quite solid. Vietnam is looking quite unstoppable. So I'm expecting to see a pretty intense match that I believe not many will be able to predict properly. I believe Vietnam has the upper hand. They are the higher seed after all. They have been looking insane so far. They only lost 3 points against Taiwan. And, I don't really think there is much the US can do in some of the picks against Vietnam. I believe they still have the upper hand on SBs. And they will probably be trying to capitalize off of the rise. But I don't know, the pool is so physically demanding and we have no info about Vietnam at all. So maybe they struggle with the pool. We shall see. I believe this match may just be decided on the first couple picks. At least the first match. If we happen to go to a bracket reset, then the story may be different. But the first couple of maps will tell a lot about how this match is going to roll out.
Yeah, and the United States have taken down so many beasts to get where they are. They had to take out Thailand, China. They had to take out Malaysia and Italy. And then finally, the third place podium, Taiwan, 7-1, which happened yesterday, to get to where they are now against the beast Vietnam, like you did mention, only giving up 3 points against Taiwan, like you mentioned. Vietnam has been a very unstoppable force going, just absolutely towering through the winner's bracket. But the United States, they have been doing the same ever since they have been dropped down to the loser's bracket due to the Philippines. They have been on a tear throughout their last couple of matches. So it all comes down to this match right here. And I believe we're immediately jumping straight into the rolls. So
yeah, I believe there are no warm-ups this time around, which I guess makes sense. Both teams likely have been preparing for a while now. Even though it's a bit early for the US, even though it's a bit late for Vietnam, it's always a problem to schedule these two teams together. Vietnam, I believe, is UTC +7, whereas the United States time zones go across South UTC -8 to UTC -5, so it's quite challenging to get a schedule that works for everybody, and I believe there are some players in the US right now that would be playing about 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. So quite tricky.
Things can go as early as 7 in the morning for the United States. Well, I believe
that's pretty early. But if it happens to go to bracket reset, this could end 1 a.m., 2 a.m. for Vietnam. So not the greatest of the times for them either. And it's also a Sunday, so yeah.
Yeah, definitely not the best going playing late on a Sunday, but things are gonna have to be done, especially with the United States having to play through that first match against Taiwan to get their way into this. See, I guess it relatively is a conditional match. This is the United States' second play in the grand finals, so. But we're getting straight into the rolls. Vietnam rolling a 77. That's actually a pretty good roll. Pretty solid.
I think it's only missing a 2 on the middle. That would be even better.
Oh, nice 16 from the United States, which means Vietnam will be getting the first protect and first pick of this grand finals match.
Starting out with the right foot there, Vietnam gets the first of it after winning the roll. We'll see what they decide to protect over here. I wouldn't be surprised if we see like anything really. Like Vietnam is looking sharp on pretty much everything. I think they may want to go for a protect that they feel the US may struggle a little bit with.
And I think probably the United States, what they struggle on probably the most would definitely be somewhere probably on the more denser sides of the long notes. And yeah, we're gonna see LN5 be safe from the ban list, which is gonna be, I believe, Netsuijo, if that's how I pronounce it, or Heat Abnormal.
It would be Suiso, I think.
Or Suiso.
But it's okay. We can call it Netsuijo, which I believe is the singer, or rather the voice, or rather the cover artist. But anyways,
yeah, I would not be
now protected. We will see one of the SVs protected here for sure, right? There's no way. I believe Unraveling status was protected last time. Let me recheck that real quick.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised seeing that the United States have been focused very well on SV, and like you did mention, yes, they did protect SV1 against their match against Taiwan, so would not be surprised if there will be a repeat. But I know I've seen the roster of the United States. They have some really good accuracy players. Like Retina has been shown to have insanely good accuracy. Same with Tonels or Tibnall. And also even Basil as well, showing off insanely good rice scores. Just overall, Z2A, pretty much everyone on the side of the United States can pull off some really good dense rice scores, and I think that's where the United States is going to shine the most. If it's not on SV, it's going to be on that more denser side of the rice spectrum. So maybe something like Shuno Hazama or System Doctor will definitely be something that the United States will probably feel more comfortable with. But don't want to count out Vietnam as well, because they are also up in that range of dense rice. And Juan, you did call it. They are going to protect SV1 again.
There it is indeed. Unraveling status. Stasis. I don't know. That name is just, if you have dyslexia, that name is just a pain to pronounce.
And the United States, wouldn't be surprised if we see a long note ban from them. Probably something like maybe Slaughter would definitely make some sense. Especially with dense lemon guy long note charting. Definitely would not be the most comfy thing in the world to play. Especially with Vietnam, I believe, being one of the top prospects of long notes. We're gonna have to wait and see what the United States are feeling needs to get knocked off the map pool board.
They're surely taking the time here for the bans. This could be seen as a sort of dark arts strategy, I want to say. Like taking your sweet time every time you can. Taking advantage of time zone difference this time. Trying to get the timers running as much as possible. So you're playing a little bit later, you're like finishing your wake up. Maybe waiting for a teammate that has not woken up yet. And of course, Vietnam on the other end kind of suffers that a little bit due to it being a little bit late. So, not the most kind of strategies, but certainly one that can be deployed. It's all in the rules as long as they don't take more than 2 minutes. And there is the Ben, Hybrid 4, same as the last round. Survival at the end of the universe is getting knocked out.
And Vietnam, we're going to probably see SV2. Wouldn't be surprised, especially with the United States protecting that SV1. So probably going to try to limit as much advantages as possible. So probably going to erase SV2.
Whoa, they're not. Both SVs are open. Ladies and gentlemen, grand finals match SV1 and SV2 are open. Olympia gets knocked out of the park here by Vietnam. Likely so, like reasonably so, rather. United States had an amazing score on Olympia against Taiwan yesterday. So I am not really surprised about this ban, but I'm very much surprised that Artificial Image, it's open. And they are gonna be picking their Protect immediately into the United States.
Yeah, so immediately going to pick LN5 against the United States. And oh man, this already not even into our first pick and a curveball has been thrown at us. Both SVs on the board, especially with something as Artificial Image being probably the hardest SV map in this entire tournament on the board. That's gotta take some confidence from Vietnam. Or maybe they have a plan to probably knock that out if by any chance the United States does reach the halfway mark, which means Vietnam does get a second ban, but we're gonna have to wait and see if that map actually gets picked.
This song is just so epic. Like, I don't know, it's very chill, but I find it very epic too. Like, we are starting the grand finals matchup with the hottest LN man on the map on the pool, and the vocals just go all in, and the snaps are all over the place. The density is not as high as some of the other picks in some regards, but certainly very physically demanding and very, very technical to release and just hit all across the board. It has a little bit of everything and it goes nuts. It doesn't stop really at all. And to start the match with this, it's also kind of a strategy factor, I believe, behind this. Due to the physicality required to get this right, not having warm-ups, you playing late, which means that you likely had more time to warm up than their opponents, I think it makes sense to open up with something more physical that maybe requires some more stamina. Even in the smallest amounts, you certainly want to have the upper hand. And I think this pick being made this early is usually better than making it later once everyone is warm.
And looks like MP settings, we're gonna see everyone is readied up, so immediately open fire with the hardest Longno pick. Definitely a big brain move for the side of Vietnam. Like I did mention, very late for them, so probably already got their warm-ups in, while it's the complete opposite for the United States. Going as early as 7 a.m.
And there it is. Let the grand final begin here as the clients sync up. It is Vietnam versus the United States. Seed 1 against Seed 4 for the grand final match. The winner, if it is Vietnam, they will take the win of the tournament immediately. If it happens to be the United States, there will be a bracket reset just after this. And as it stands right now, the United States seems to be holding a very, very slim lead, but that's the early, easy section. The map is going to start to pick up in density and release timings, and these accuracies, I expect him to go down quite quickly. And we see that on Sky, who's holding the lowest accuracy on the lobby right now, with the US struggling to hold that lead, and he will swap, but the miss by Sturpda, it's gonna flip it again in favor of the Americans here. But so small.
Yeah, and Sky trading that miss back from Sturpda, but it's just solely the accuracies of Toenails and Charlie helping out balance out this lead by 2,000 points. It's just Sky down to that low 99 margin, but they are rapidly climbing up. But for every long note that they seem to hold, their a 200 gets dropped and drops their accuracy down to where they were before. As now this lead is starting to increase.
A double miss
again.
That is a double miss by Tonas, and Charlie drops as well. There's no more FCs on the United States side, and Vietnam is kind of crushing this map now that the combos have stabilized. But Big Seal is gonna drop. There's only one FC left here by Rixuna, and honestly, having an FC on this map is already very, very impressive. I wasn't really expecting any teams to be holding this long, but with a quarter of the map left and 20,000 points of advantage, Vietnam's looking quite safe here on the lead, and it's off the back of this accuracy advantage that they have. If you match 1-1, Charlie and Sturpda have the same accuracy, Tonals and Big Seal as well, but the difference here between Rixuna and Sky is a bit too much. Sky, though, holding the highest combo in the United States, it's not gonna matter too much if he cannot get that accuracy a little bit higher. Now it's a drop again. The lead's just gonna keep increasing. This seems really safe already for Vietnam.
Yeah, and I think it's confident to say that Vietnam will be taking the first point of this match on their own pick as well. 30,000 points difference. Only one miss by Rizuna. And what is that ratio from Vixile? Insanely good scores. Only 10 200s from Vixile, but also very good score by Tonels, getting the best ratio in the lobby. An insanely good 200 count. Good scores all across the board. It is just Vietnam having the better team effort. But it is now the United States' turn to pick, and I would not be surprised if they immediately jump into that Rice range or open fire with one of the SVs.
I honestly will instantly open with SV2 to avoid having potential banishers. But to be fair, you can make that your next pick. It doesn't have to be this pick because you didn't win this. Like, because you didn't break points, you're not gonna reach the halfway point with your second pick, regardless of what happens. So I think that's also true regardless of they winning or not the first time. So they are free not to pick any of the SVs right now because there's no risk of them being banned midway.
Definitely a one-way ticket to getting a point unless Vietnam has done their homework and has practiced these maps. And I would not be surprised if that were the case, especially seeing that the United States did protect SE1. Vietnam definitely probably got onto business and probably worked their heart out for this map to try to limit the possibilities that the United States can possibly take. But we're gonna have to see, as it is the US's pick. I would say keep those SV picks up and start using them when you're at a point to where you're risking another ban. But for now, we're gonna see what they're gonna want to go for. Probably maybe something like System Doctor or Shuno Hazama, something on the upper Rice range that can definitely trip up Vietnam.
Why did they go for the Sand? That would be funny. No, they're going for Hallucinatory Hallow. Hallucinatory Hallow.
This is a pretty dense map as well. I guess you can kind of solidify all of these maps as just extraordinarily dense. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see probably the roster of Tonels. Probably gonna see the joining of Z2A if it's not early enough for them. We're gonna see Retna and Charlie. So we're gonna see the Rice squad hop in for the side of the United States. A very good Rice trio. Retna definitely leading on the side of Ratio. Tonels checking out, but probably gonna claw or check back in. And of course, Vietnam having the Rice God Rizuna. Vixal looking to back up, but same with Orange Juice Cutie. Well, Retna is probably going to try to battle it out with Rizuna with the helps of Charlie and the third player on the side of the US. I did see Tonels join the lobby, but don't know if they're gonna jump back in or we're gonna see Z2A or Sky or even Basil join in. You have to wait and see. And looks like we're going to see Z2A jump in.
It is C2A joining here, which is I think the only West Coast player of the United States in this team. So they will be playing quite early.
It is 9 a.m. I would reckon. I think for Z2A. I think it's around that zone, if I'm correct, because I think it's like 7 a.m. for Retna, because I remember seeing them play in MCL. They were more Western, so I believe they are the ones playing at 7 in the morning. So definitely the early times definitely going to be striking the United States. Unless we're going to see Mirror from Z2A.
Have to see if the Rice department is the route that the United States wants to go. They still have 3 picks on the pool that has some SVs that they could take advantage of, those being Descent and the 2 SB maps. But otherwise, they kind of need something else. They cannot just win the match with SVs. And even so, Vietnam is a pretty good team on SVs. And as he starts, Rise to Retina finds a couple of breaks here. Those are 2 very nasty drops at the very start here. The accuracy is going to be decreased via fair margin, and the score is going to be in favor of the Vietnamese by about 15,000 points into the combo cap.
Yeah, and as we get into this first quarter of the map, Retina starting off pretty roughly down at that 98 section with an early miss. Definitely not what you're going to want to see going into this first quarter, but 15,000 points of difference as looks like the clients are looking to join back. Z2A missing as well, and same with Retina. Now this lead is by 20,000 points, almost in 30,000, as Retina continues to find these drops. Orange Juice finally finding some bleeding, trading one of those misses back to Z2A missing, and Retina as well. Charlie 72, 99.75, battling out with Rizuna as Vixile is still at that 99.8 range. Retina down to the low 98s. Z2A mid 99 range. 55,000 points going into the halfway mark.
Interesting to see the swap here between Tunnels and Retina. I don't think we have seen US playing without Tunnels too often, and unfortunately this time it's not really working quite well. It's a third of the map remaining, and the lowest accuracy by Retina is by a fair margin the worst accuracy here, more than a full percentage behind every single player on Vietnam here.
Yeah, definitely interesting definitely weird not seeing Tonels fit into this. I swear they're definitely one of the United States' rice gods, but probably just not feeling comfortable with this pick. But as soon as the density starts kicking up again, Retina and Z2A finding drops, but Vixile finally drops down, but that is way too late for a miss for the side of Vietnam, as anything could happen, and Vietnam would still have this lead, 86,000 points, and that will be a break point for the side of Vietnam. Only 5 200s on the side of Rizuna and Vixile. Only 2 from Charlie, stealing the MVP.
That score by Charlie's kind of insane. Like, that's what I meant. If Tunnels was playing instead, as we are used to see, then maybe they would have been a bit better. They would have had a better chance. But even so, like, they will have needed a 980k plus, which is pretty insane to achieve.
Yeah, and even with that, Charlie definitely pulling out a very surprising score. It was just definitely just a struggle of having having the rice player you're used to having on the team not playing. But things can definitely happen. But Vietnam starting off strong with an early 2-0 lead, but only 2 points. It is a break point though, so they do have the chance to go for another one of the LNs, maybe something like Slaughter or My Darling. Or they could go for one of the hybrids, and we're gonna see LN too, so Trackless Wilderness going to get the pick.
Vietnam's gonna continue the LN trend here. After winning on the hardest physical LN map, they go straight into another one of the same type.
Yeah, and this is another thing as well. I have saw Tonels' skill. They can also play LN very well. So wouldn't be surprised if... And yep, there he is. Tonels
Classic LN lineup here for the US. Charlie, Tonels, and Sky. And yeah, I believe Stupda is joining as well here for Vietnam, which have not played on the previous Rice map.
And this will most likely be your lineup for the more long note side of things. Tonels, Sky, Charlie for the United States. Tonels representing the more density of the LN, while Charlie looking to back them up. Sky focusing more on the more accuracy side of things, but can definitely pull off some very good long note scores. Rizuna being the absolute tank for LN on the side of Vietnam. Vixile looking to back them up, and Sturta, same thing for the side of Vixile. Looking to just hold things on so Rizuna can definitely prevail, trying to match up with the likings of Tonels and their United States squad. But we're going to have to see what the Americans can do at this, see if they can do a back-to-back breakpoint and get a points here.
I mean, to be fair, they only really need to break point once. If they do so and win their picks, then the scoreline is tied again. They don't need to break point twice. But, I mean, getting a break point off of Vietnam is already quite an insane task. We shall see if they can do it on Trackless Wilderness. To be fair, on LM5, there were many points where the score gap was very, very, very small. But as soon as the density started to pick up a little bit and some drops were starting to be dropped, US was looking like the team that was damaged the most. And they may be the ones struggling in the LN department a little bit more.
Yeah, as we're just waiting for all the players to ready up. Looks like someone AFK, Furrow, looking to just stepped away from the computer a bit, but thankfully they returned just as the timer concluded. And looks like we're probably going to get started with LN2 anytime now. Yeah, and here we go. In with LN2, Trackless Wilderness, the United States looking to looking to get a point, looking to take a break point. Vietnam looking to extend their lead to 3 points. And here we go.
Early stuff here. The United States seems to be holding the accuracy lead ever so slightly, but it's not going to matter too much. We haven't seen the meat of the map yet. And as we get into it, slowly but surely, we'll start to see which team has the upper hand in this type of patterns. And it seems like it is Vietnam who's holding the better accuracy, mostly off the back of the difference between Rixi, Suna, and Sky here. Everybody else seems to be pretty equal for the most part, with a slight advantage to Vietnam. The scroll speed by Xiuna is just so slow. It's so hard to read, I imagine, for most viewers here. I am personally used to play with a scroll speed, so it's not that big of a deal. But it's certainly so much lower than everybody else. And as the map continues, it seems like there's just a full-way FC here, with Vietnam holding the charge as they are holding the greatest accuracy. Sky with a 98's not going to be too good. But now the first drop by Stupta may start to change the outcome of this match as the score lead starts to decrease. They will be getting into the combo cap. I believe this will settle on the 4,000 points different mark, or maybe even slightly above that. The miss almost doing no damage to the Vietnamese here, again due to Sky's accuracy being a bit poor compared to everybody else. But Rixi is also dropping a bit of accuracy, so as we get into the last third and stamina starts to kick in, maybe the United States has a chance here if they can find a drop, but
Sky!
Not on that side. Sky is the one to drop, and Vietnam now equalizes on the combo department. They have the advantage on the accuracy, and that lead's just gonna fly away. 17,000 points of advantage to the Southeast Asians here.
Yeah, we're going to have to see a monumental collapse on the side of Vietnam if the United States want to carry on, but there is still that left. Sky back up to that 400 common cap, but it's just their accuracy in the low or in the high 98 margin, as Rizuna is holding on to the combo. Same with Vixal, as once we thought there was a sign for the United States with Sturpta, it was just unfortunate on the side of Sky with the accuracy, and Vietnam going to be taking their 3rd point of this match. And a very good score across from everyone. 11 200s from Tonels, 11 from Vixile as well, matching up with their accuracy. It was just
It's
unfortunate.
funny because had this been a 2v2 match, the United States would have won. Like overall, the top 2 from the US is ever so slightly stronger than the top 2 of Vietnam, but it's the 3rd player here that is making the difference. There is about 28,000 points of difference between the weakest player of each team and that is the main difference maker. The difference between the top twos is not high enough to make up for that difference. And the scores from literally the top 4 of this match are insane, ridiculous, and definitely not 4-digit. So there isn't much you can do, really.
And I think this is the point where the United States needs to start putting in the SV work. It is their pick. Would not be surprised if they probably were to go for. They're most definitely more in the favor of probably SV1. But interesting, we did not see an SV2 ban, so they could also go for artificial image. But I think this is where the United States pulls out the SV card to at least try to get a point. I know Vietnam probably did their homework and saw that the United States played SV1 against Taiwan, so they probably have this map learned as well, but the United States probably has the more confidence going into this trip. We're gonna have to wait and see what they're wanting to go for. Definitely don't want to call things out way too early.
They're taking the time again for the pick as usual and expected. And I'm not really sure what they want to go for.
Wait a second.
At this point.
The United States protected SV1, but they actually never played it against Taiwan.
Yeah, they didn't need to because I believe when the last pick of the match was made by Taiwan, usually the strategy that the US likes to go for is saving their protect for last. So because they didn't get a chance to play their pick as the last pick of the match, then they didn't play it.
Looks like we're gonna see a timeout being called from the United States. So we're going to see a timeout from them. Probably gonna take some time to discuss what they're going to go for. Being down 3 points this early definitely can be scary. So definitely can be scary. So definitely gonna have to see what the United States wants to go for. Probably going to probably talk about players and maybe see if they want to swap out for maybe like onto the side of LNs.
I mean, I'm not really sure what the strat will be at this point. I'm very confident though, saying the US is going for Rice, but I'm not sure which one specifically. They could try to go for System Doctor. I think it's the one that may make the most sense for them if they want to go for the Rice. I really doubt they will go for anything in the hybrid department just yet. I feel they still have options on the Rice. As long as they don't go for like Margaret and Shuno Hasama, I think those two maps they may want to avoid a little bit. And they also always have SVs open here, which it's pretty dangerous. When you see a match when both SVs are open, you're like, do I really want to pick a SVs against this team? Because if they didn't ban it, that probably means they know how to play it well. So how much can you push your luck on SVs in a matchup like this? It's not like they have much of a choice. So maybe they just go for that right now. Artificial image is the one I would maybe try to open with. And they are taking the sweet time. I believe the timeout is now over. So we shall see how it proceeds. The USA gets a warning for taking too long here. Not just for picking, but also using their timeout. So I believe at this point they have a couple seconds. Yep. There it is. They are going for System Doctor, as I called before.
Rice 4 getting the pick. I mean, this is, I believe this is, if not our most dense Rice pick. I remember seeing this in the showcase. Everyone was losing their mind over this, especially with how dense it was. I think this is one of the higher BPM picks. Yeah, 260 BPM.
It's pretty fast, yes. Yeah, this is the map that, rather the song that kills your ears if you have like sensitivity, because those pitches are very, very high.
I mean, what would you expect from Rough Sketch? They definitely know how to kill your viewers at immensely high tempos, and we're gonna see looks like we're gonna see Toenails jump in for this, and of course Charlie. Would I be surprised if Z2A or Retina were to jump in for this pick? But seeing what happened on the last Thrice pick, probably gonna see Z2A jump in for this.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see them.
Or maybe the joining of Basil, maybe. And looks like it's going to be Z2A.
Yep, C2A, Toenails, Charlie is the kind of lineup I would expect the US to present on the Rise department, so no surprises there. And on Vietnam side, Orange Juice joining here to replace Spuda. And they should be getting ready anytime soon now to play pick number 4 here. Second choice by the United States. Even though the scoreline looks quite grim, it's only just a single breakpoint of difference. So if the US can take a pick off of the hands of Vietnam, they would be equalizing the entirety of the matchup so long as they win their picks. So they can't really afford to lose their own maps anymore, to be honest. And yeah, System Doctor is quite a map, pretty intense in the physical side, very, very fast and dense. But it is the US pick, it is Rise. They have some sort of upper hand, at least in the papers, but not by much. So we'll see if it is the case practically here, if the US can take this first point in their hands. If they lose this, they'll get a ban to take off of Vietnam's, but we shall see. They are probably hoping for that not to be the case, at least not in this map.
Yeah, they needed to sneak a point, and Z2A finding an early miss. That looked to be more or less a hardware issue, maybe a keyboard double tap, or maybe just nerves getting some. But that is a very clean drop. That was before the 400 combo cap, so they definitely have time to make up that drop. Only almost roughly 3,000 points of difference here. Orange Juice also having a pretty rough beginning, and there's a miss from Orange Juice. That lead is now going to swing in the favor of the United States as Z2A climbs back up to that 400 combo cap. Toenails and Charlie having roughly the same accuracy, trying to match up with Rizuna as we now get into this more dense jump stream section. 260 BPM, pretty light jump stream, but it definitely can be draining at sometimes, especially with these bursts. Mini Jacks coming in now with some of these broken streams. 4,000 points settling in for the side of the United States as we get into this first third of this map.
And there's a miss there by Rizuna as well, so that's going to extend the lead for the United States, which are looking quite good at the start of this. There's still more than half of a map remaining here. But this is the exact same thing that we saw on the LN department, where Vietnam's third player was making quite a difference against the third player on the US. This time around, top two on both sides are pretty equal once more, but the third player is way above in favor of the United States here, who's holding a 14k lead, and there's no more FCs on Vietnam. Big Style drops right before we start getting into the second denser section. And halfway through the map, the United States is 20k above. And another drop now by Big Side. And another drop by Rixuna. And no drops whatsoever on the US side. Z2A just had that single blip at the intro. But otherwise, FCing through the chart. The mini jacks being a bit too much for both Orange Juice and Rixuna. And the lead just continues to increase.
Yeah, this is exactly what the United States is looking for. Capitalizing off of these more denser rice, starting to wear out the stamina of the sides of Vietnam. Everyone no longer full comboing, while Charlie and Toenails still holding on to their FC. Z2A did find a miss earlier, but that won't affect much, especially with the drops of Rizuna and I believe Orange Juice as well after that miss from Z2A. But only about less than a quarter of the map left to go. Almost 60,000 points of difference now. This is what the United States is looking for. And I think it is pretty much safe to say, unless a monumental collapse happens into the jump shows, Toenails finds a miss. But that is that's first of lots the United States would need. And as the map comes to a close, it looks like even with more of this map left, 50,000 points is definitely a lot to come back from. I think there's just not enough map left.
Yeah, despite the misses here at the ending by Tonels, you can see the score lines for most players are on the 950Ks, and making 50,000 points of difference just with that little margin is not going to happen at all. And the map just concludes. It is the United States who takes the first point and is still into the match. They win by 49,000, a fairly decisive one. And we are starting to see perhaps some weakness on the Vietnamese team. This more intense rise seems to be a problem for them. But they have 3 points in their hands already. They already got their break points. So if they continue with the game plan and they win their own maps, then they might just be fine. They don't really need to win on the US's picks any longer as long as they win their own. So despite this being a pretty dominant performance for the United States on the Rise department, they still need to break point once. And that's likely gonna happen on a lens. It has to happen on a lens. Otherwise, like Vietnam can right now just pick every single LN map remaining, and if they win them all, they will be winning the match because they only need 4 more points. The tricky part is the United States is gonna have a ban if the Vietnamese team wins another map. So they can knock out one of the LN maps of the pool. So quite tricky situation here. There's also no Hybrid 4, which is the LN hybrid, so going for Slaughter here, and I'm not sure if I like this pick.
Yeah, this is a very, very dense map, especially bumped up to 1.1. 1.0 alone is really hard. And this is I believe this is like 160 BPM, very fast, like bursty type LNs. I think even shields as well. And especially with that OD 7.5, this is definitely in the more density range of long note than anything. Don't be discouraged by that star rating. This map is very tricky to get good accuracy on, especially with how many tricky and very surprising spots there are to miss on in this chart. And we're gonna see the swapping of Sky for the side of the United States. I feel like it's a bit of a risk for Vietnam.
I mean, if you think it this way, this is the only map the US lost against Taiwan, right? I believe Vietnam may be using that as information for them to pick this. So they have seen the US score on this against Taiwan. So maybe they think they can beat it despite them not being like the best team available on this kind of maps. But this is certainly, in my opinion, a fairly risky choice. Slaughter is a very techy map for the most part. It has a bunch of Rise as well, so it's the closest thing you're gonna get to a hybrid map, but still with a very heavy long no emphasis. It's like 80-20 in favor of the Alliance.
Here we go with Slaughter.
Can the US take a break point now? They'll have to wait for a little bit longer. If the US loses this map, they get to ban one. If they win, they get their pick, and the match could be very much equal so long as every team continues to win their own picks. And intro, so far the US seems to be on the lead accuracy wise, not by much though, and it's likely gonna flip anytime. We reach the combo cap and it's just flickering back and forth. The accuracy here from Sky, as we have seen before, is a bit low compared to everybody else. His combo ability is quite nice, especially in a tournament setting, but when the teams are this good, you kinda need to sharpshoot for accuracy. Even though it is grand finals, you still need to go for a very, very intense accuracy.
Yeah, and here we go into some more dense LNs. Sky dropping their accuracy down to the low 99 margin, but Sturpta is also having the lowest accuracy on the side of Vietnam. I think that was a Bancho slider break, and that looks
I'm not sure
real
if this,
one.
yeah, the second one looked a bit real for Tonels.
Wait a second.
And
okay,
it
there we
is,
go.
yep,
Charlie
it is a miss
right.
by Tonels. Charlie doesn't though, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, Charlie's combo is back. And here we go into the chorus, 20,000 points of difference, but here comes these bursty, really tricky LN. Sky and Sturpta missing at the exact same note there, but still no harm, no foul, as that was a very equal trade. Still 20,000 points in Vietnam's favor. Sky missing again now. Vixile and Rizuna hovering around the same accuracy, just about a 1/10% of difference. Toenails having the highest accuracy, but missing. It's now only Charlie holding on. Toenails missing again.
Oh, the third column. Oh, the
Ooh.
third column. Toenails is struggling so much with the third column. I'm not really sure what's going on there. Maybe he just column locking in some strange way, but all of those misses are from that same column. And the accuracy decreases a fair amount. The shields being too much for the United States to keep up with here.
And even with
just easy win for Vietnam.
Yeah, even with Sturpta finding those misses, it was just, like you did mention, that third column very brutal on the side for the United States. Toenails missing are quite lots. Slider breaking a lot there. And Vixile, 984k FC. Same with Charlie as well, 977. Really good scores on the sides of both sides, for both respective countries. But now Vietnam is halfway to winning the tournament, which means it is the United States' turn to knock out a map.
I mean, to be fair, are they halfway through winning the tournament? I mean, I feel they are halfway through winning the grand final. Halfway through winning the tournament would have been like quarterfinals. But yeah, I get what you mean. Of course, like I'm just being nitpicky. To be fair, again, we were saying Vietnam winning their own picks is kind of the expected thing, and even though the score lead seems insanely huge with 3 maps of advantage, it is still just a single breakpoint. And the US now with a ban, they are likely going to be banning one of the 3 LN maps remaining, and if I had to take a guess, they may just want to ban My Darling? Yeah, and they are indeed not banning My Darling, they are banning Susceptible here, Danny PX's map. A bit surprised here. I didn't think Susceptible was like too physically demanding, and I felt the US may have some chances with Sky maybe not struggling in the accuracy department as much, but maybe they don't feel the same. Maybe they want to keep My Darling open, which is more choke bait potential, and Vietnam could drop some amount of combo there and perhaps give a chance to the US here. But scoreline is now getting a bit tricky because Vietnam can still pick a lens and get into match point scenario, but after that, if the US keep winning their picks, I'm not really sure what the Vietnamese team goes for. Descent doesn't look too good, Rebellion doesn't look too good, Dominator may be the pick they want to go for after they are out of a lens, and that's always considering that the US decides to go for Rise and continue to win their own picks, of course, but it's not up for them. We'll see what they go for here, if they want to start opening with the SVs already, or if they want to continue the Rise strategy. If we saw Vietnam struggling with System Doctor, I would assume that Shuno Hasama is a fairly decent pick for the United States, so we'll see.
And with LN3 getting the ban on the side for the United States, definitely makes sense. Probably Vietnam gonna stick with that LN range. Definitely could go for the 2 remaining long notes on the board. Or they can switch things up and go for one of the hybrids if they don't feel comfortable at all. Especially like Dominator. And oh, Rice 5 is
Called
not
it.
the pick.
Let's go.
Wait, oh yeah, it is the pick. Never mind, it's still the US's pick. Whoopsie daisy. I thought it was Vietnam's pick. Whoops.
Nah. They get the ban and then they get the pick, so
we're gonna see Shuno Hazama get the pick. I was just yapping about the wrong team.
So I expect to see Tonel set to A and Charlie for this map specifically. But I'm a little bit concerned that I'm not seeing Charlie yet.
Oh no, Z-Play. Yeah, there's Charlie. And of course we're gonna see the dominant duo of Rizuna and Vixile for the side of Vietnam. We're gonna have to see who's gonna be that third player to round out this Vietnamese squad. Probably going to be
probably Orange Juice.
Yeah,
I
probably
think.
Orange Juice is going to probably going to chime in for this pick.
It's kind of weird that we saw Retina playing on the United States for Rise in the very first pick of the match by them. Because otherwise, I feel like the United States is looking like the stronger physical team in terms of Rice. So that singular thing may end up costing the United States the entire tournament, which is pretty insane to think about that way. I'll have to see if that's the case. They still need to win the rest of their maps, and they kind of want to start that with Shu no Hazama. Again, the most physically demanding map of arguably the entirety of the pool. And as we see Orange use one trick here joining for the Vietnamese team, every player already slotted and ready, I believe, to go on. Pick number 6 here. Third pick by the United States here. And only a single breakpoint so far in the entirety of the matchup. And that was, like we said, Rice and the first map that the United States decided to pick. And there we go. MP star issued. Vietnam versus United States. Pick number 6 of the grand finals here. The United States can't really afford to lose any of their picks any longer. And honestly, they can't really afford to lose much more at all. As we start with Rice 5, the hardest of the Rice in the pool. All the 8 points level are going to be quite tricky to get accuracy out of this. But the most tricky part is going to be able to hold your stamina. This map just drags and drains. And the mine blocks by Orange Juice are showing up. Tonos as well, struggling a lot actually with the pattern. I'm not really sure what's up. The fourth column jack was a miss by both of them, but they just struggled with everything else as well. That was a start for both teams that they probably wouldn't have wanted to. Yeah, now into the combo cap. I mean, what was that?
Yeah, very interesting beginning for Orange Juice and Tonels, but as we get into this, looks like everyone actually had a pretty much an accuracy dent. Rezuna having the highest accuracy on the side of Vietnam with a 99.52. Well, as Vixile is holding up very well just behind them, and Orange Juice trying to climb back up. Same with Tonels with the US. Charlie actually out-accuracying Rezuna, 99.6, as Z2A is trying to battle up with Vixile. And Tonels climbing back up very well, almost up to that 99 mark. Just roughly 2,000 points of difference. Lots can happen, especially as we are entering...
Look at the score difference. Look how it's shrinking. Tonels drops on one of the jacks, and twice in a row now. I'm not sure if they're still struggling with the column 3, but they are dropping on many odd spots here. That's going to give Vietnam quite the lead.
Yeah, but... we go arriving into the bridge before the chorus. This could be a mark as to where we could probably see some mistakes happen, but Rezuna, that looks to be a Bancho miss.
Yeah, that looks like a Bancho miss, 100%. But we're waiting for the clients to sync up again, and there is the combo recovered. And we enter into the chorus here of the song. Orange Juice one trick's gonna find a miss on one of those difficult jacks in the middle of the patterns, and the scoreline starting to shrink. But Tonels instantly trades the drop, and now Z2A joins the one miss team. And unfortunately, it's only Charlie for the United States here holding the combo, and not any longer. They find a mistake as we start to leave this chorus section with Vixile and Rixuna. They are just holding the ground together here as they always do. The United States just collapsing on their own pick, whereas Vietnam is just holding very solidly, very tightly, with a third of the map remaining. The accuracy by Rixuna is dropping by a lot, but it's not gonna matter. The combo still stays strong, and the lead is just immense at this point. 57,000 points, no drops by the top two on Vietnam. Many drops by Charlie and Z2A, and Tonels, who's struggling even on the accuracy department a fair amount. And this pick that was looking like a good one for the United States is not working at all. Had this been a battle similar to what we saw in the previous Rice pick, where both of the top twos were doing immensely well, and the third pick being the decider factor, then maybe the US would have a chance. But now, every player on the American side is just struggling to keep the ground. And the Vietnamese, on the other hand, are just destroying the chat.
And Yeah, almost 60,000 points of lead. That collapse from the United States. Vixile, I think they're on an FC run. 99.61, that's actually really impressive. And now Vietnam taking a monumental break point.
Double FC on the hardest rice map of the pool. What are you talking about, FC? Vietnam?
Oh, Rezuna with the FC as well. I didn't even realize Rezuna was still holding on. And with
that was
now,
a score and a half. Yeah. Or actually, like 4 scores and a half.
Like this is 4DM, guys. We tried to make the map pool as hard as possible for this final round, and then we have Vixile getting 9,200s and near 990.
Honestly, a very insane team run, nonetheless. Like 2 FCs is ridiculous on a map like Shunohasama, even more so. Like grand finals, guys. We assure you this maps are hard, even though the players are making it look like they aren't. But they are truly insanely tricky. Like we're talking, this is probably like semis plus of Mania World Cup, maybe even finals. At least Shunohasama is a map that I would maybe seeing on the very hard end of the semifinals or the very easy end of the finals of the Mania World Cup. And seeing them just casually 989 or 985k'ing this is quite ridiculous. But now they're going for LN1. Recollect Lines is going to be the choice here by Vietnam, and it's looking very, 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 very bad for the United States now.
Yeah, it is not looking good for the United States, but they still have at least the very minimum, 1 pick left to go. So it's not 100% the end of the line for things, as they still have their SV pick as well on the board.
And I was talking how they not playing Tonel's on Hallucinatory Halo could have been a problem. Tonel's now struggling quite a bit with Shunohasama, and even had they played Tonel's on the Rise 3 map, this was just too one-sided in favor of Vietnam. Apparently they were PvEing a lot, both Vixile and Rexy. So yeah, I mean there's not much you can do against that, even though a pick makes sense in the United States minds. If the other team just pops off, I mean, at this stakes where you know that Vietnam may be the team that in a good day would be the better team. If they are just having that good day, it's kind of really, really hard to get the upper hand against them.
And we're going to see Recollect Lines get the pick. We're probably going to see, and just as I say on cue, Sky joins back in the lobby. Going to see the return of the Long Note squad for this, and this is either going to be Vietnam just 1 point away from taking it home, or the United States looking to stay alive and take a break point.
I mean, this is not quite do or die for the United States, but it's very close. Like, this is the easier LM map of the pool, so maybe this gives enough leeway for Sky to get a very better accuracy than what we're used to see him. And with their combo potential, the United States certainly has what it takes here to, I don't want to say 3-way FC because that's like demanding too much, but I think there are a team that would be very capable of getting a very nice score on this. So is Vietnam, to be fair, but they may have just enough to take a break point here, and they really need to. Otherwise, if they lose this, Vietnam's going to be on match point. There's still a lot more maps to be played and to be avoided. There's still both of the SVs open. So the US can win this, and they can maybe win both of the SVs, then everything suddenly is looking a little bit better. But we shall see if that's the case. They need to start the comeback right now. Otherwise, I doubt they will have enough time to recover.
And
at the start, it is again Sky's accuracy who's dropping the United States a little bit down compared to the Vietnamese. And even though Rixuna is struggling a little bit to hit the immense consistency we are used to see him is only 200s, whereas Tonels finds a drop on one of those mini jacks, but it gets traded by Big Style. There's still hope for the United States here. A third of the map already played, and the score lead barely decreasing, if anything. And the United States is not looking good.
Yeah, it's not looking good for the signs of the United States. Tonels, with that drop, not going to benefit much. Sky down to that high 98 range. But and even with Charlie's best effort, only beating out the likings of Vixile and Rezuna, Sturpta holding up very well, 99.6. There's another miss from Tonels. Going into the back half of this map now, Rezuna finds a drop that is the first miss on the second miss on the side of Vietnam. Sturpta still holding on to a fairly good accuracy. Vixile holding on quite well. Rezuna jumping down in accuracy, but not much. 16,000 points of difference now going into the final third of this map. There is still room as the United States is all back up to that 400 combo cap, but so is Rezuna and Vietnam.
And I told you, the US needed a 3-way FC, and unfortunately they only have 2 right now. And with less than a quarter of the song remaining, and the score gap just keeps increasing, and a miss now by Charlie, the accuracy collapsing by Sky. Vietnam is just looking solid, but a collapse there by Rezuna may be enough, but it isn't, as there's a 2-way drop again on the United States side. Charlie and Sky. Sturpta's just gonna have an FC. It's gonna be the only FC of the match at the end of the day. And with barely any song remaining, 30k of advantage, another miss by Charlie. It is gonna be another victory for the Vietnamese. The only question is, will Sturpta get the FC at the end or not? This very ending is a bit mind-blocky, but they get it anyways. 988,000 points for Sturpta, who holds the only FC and puts Vietnam into a match point, tournament point situation. They only need to win one more map and they take the tournament.
And here we go. This is tournament points for Vietnam. One more point and they will be crowned 4-digit Mania World Cup 2024 champions and their first ever victory in 4-digit Mania World Cup history. But it is the United States pick, and there's only one pick. We all know it. The chat's been talking about it for quite a while. I think we both know it.
Yeah, they're probably going to be picking, Dominator, right? That's what you mean? Yeah?
No.
Yeah, I know you're not. I mean, the question is, do they go for Artificial Image? Or do they go for Unrivaled Stasis? I mean, they can even go for Descent, to be honest. They still have 3 maps with SVs remaining, and they are just avoiding them fully. They are even avoiding their own Protect here. So we shall see. United States quite defeated, at least at this point. Mentality and morale pretty downhill, unfortunately. But they are gonna start the attempt at the very least of recovery, because the match is not over until it is. And Unraveling Stasis is gonna be the choice by the United States. We're gonna see SVs. A grand final without SVs would have been sad. We may have a grand finals without hybrids though, so that's also kind of sad.
Yeah, have we ever had a match that has never had a hybrid be played?
Yeah,
that's
actually going to be a fair amount of times, I think, as well. It's not.
And we're going to see a change up. We're going to see Sorakun jump in for Vietnam. We're going to see Basil jump in for the United States. Tokeyume going to hop in for Vietnam. So we're going to see some changes in the roster for this SV pick.
This is the point where you do your scroll speed check, your posture check, your monitor check, because everything is on the line, especially if you are a player of the United States. Tonels and Charlie are gonna stay, and now Basil is gonna join them for the SVs. We shall see if the US has what it takes to compete on the SV department. They have been looking like the best team on the SVs across the entire tournament, but really haven't seen them faced against Vietnam just yet. So we will see with the special SV lineup here by Vietnam with Sorakun and Toki Yume. Stupda is the only one that still remains off of the players that played on the previous couple maps. The LM plus SV specialist here. Will that be enough? If the US loses this map, it is game over for them and we will have a new champion of the 4-digit Mania World Cup. Should the United States win this, Vietnam will have another pick, likely to be the last LAN map remaining. And if they take that, they are just one map away of taking the entirety of the tournament. Dream situation here for Vietnam, but they still need to take the United States on SVs here. Unraveling Stasis is the choice, the protect that the United States made at the start of the match. We will see if it pays off. Else with a drop at the very start here on the slow jam. Not the dream start for the United States, and Vietnam is going to be taking advantage of that. Holding the better accuracy, and Tonels is struggling a very high amount here. Seems like they know the gimmicks, but they struggle a little bit reading the patterns as a whole. Sorakun as well, but so is Stupda. Every player really is just collapsing other than Tokiyumi and Era Vasil. And it's just the accuracy that Sorakun is holding that's keeping Vietnam on the lead here. But otherwise, if we see a break from Tokiyumi or Vasil, the scoreline just switches immediately due to how low the node count is on a map like this. It is basically just a 1v1 at this point. The telegraphs. No players are struggling on the long jack. Oh my god, the nerves.
Holding on.
I am getting so nervous here. There's a lot of 200 stay by Stupda, and the jack that was a little bit offbeat doesn't throw anyone off, and halfway through the map, it's still Vietnam on the lead. Don't get deceived, 17,000 points is a lot, but in a map with SVs and with low node count, it is not. A single miss here when everyone is on the combo cap can make a difference. Everybody hits the invisible jack and no problems whatsoever on the LNs. Charlie's the first one to drop on the stacked LNs here, and that's going to give a huge advantage now for Vietnam. A third of the map still remains, but as long as the combos are held together, then it can go anywhere. Stupda struggling a lot to keep that accuracy up, but because the combo is still in there and still playing, that is just enough. But Sorakun now drops and the combo is equal again. Does the United States have enough time here to recover? Combo-wise, they are slightly on the lead, but the accuracy difference is a bit too much now in favor of Vietnam. And there isn't much left in terms of gimmicks. It is just the last ending here that may be enough for the United States. There's a couple misses from Vietnam, but Tokiyumi is just looking insane. They are not dropping at all, and nobody else on the Vietnamese team is. And it looks like the SV team is gonna be defeated for the first time. And it will be Vietnam. Everything's looking like it, but there's a lot of accuracy drops here. They get traded immediately. I don't think there's enough time whatsoever. Total challenge rush. So cool.
That's gonna be it
as well, but it's not enough. It is Vietnam. It is 7-1, and it's such a crazy ending. But we have a new champion. Just like that.
And Vietnam, the first seed, going to be taking first place on the podium, winning are now the champions of 4-digit Mania World Cup 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, your champions, Vietnam. And of course, commiserations to the United States for putting up one hell of an effort, as well as Taiwan and everybody as well in this tournament. Oh man, that was a absolutely monumental performance. And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, we have a new crowned champion, Vietnam, going to be your winner for 4-digit Mania World Cup 2024. And just like that, it's the end. It's over.
From start to finish, it always looked like it was going to be Vietnam. United States, the last opponent to be on their way. And even so, they run almost entirely unscratched. Quite the Vietnamese team we had the pleasure to see here on the 4-digit Mania World Cup. They are rightfully claimed as the champions of this tournament after an immense run out. I believe they barely swept any teams, but that is not a requirement to win the tournament. They had to take a lot though. Taiwan on the finals, USA on the grand finals. They had to go through China. They had to go through, I believe, Indonesia and Czechia plus Slovakia. A lot of opponents on their way, all of them imposing some conditions and putting Vietnam sometimes in tough spots, as the United States did at some point where they won their own rice pick, and it was looking like they maybe had the upper hand in that regard. Vietnam regained their composure once more and showed everybody why they were seed number 1, and they get, at the end of the day, the win for the first time in their history of a major Mania tournament.
Yeah, and I think there's only one thing left to do, and that is to showcase the tiebreaker. I think we're going to be switching lobbies for that.
No, I don't think we do. No, we just play it here, I'm pretty sure.
Wait, did the entirety of Vietnam just leave the lobby? We gotta tell them to get back here. We gotta showcase our tiebreaker. We gotta do a little show match here. We gotta keep the drain time going on for the stream, even though we're not monetized. But oh man, this has been one ride of a tournament one. Seeing the amount of upsets and points we've seen, I mean, there's just so many highlights this entire tournament. We've seen new faces nearly reach the podium spot, such as Italy, Taiwan. Taiwan did reach the podium, getting 3rd place. And we have a new champion, Vietnam. So many things happened.
Wait, they're gonna be throwing fireworks? That's super cool. They're claiming on the chat that they may just be shooting fireworks at the outside of their houses. That's sick.
Well, that's one way to celebrate.
I mean, that's a hell of a way to celebrate. But yeah, it's probably late for them, so I don't blame them for them going to sleep here. It seems like Big Sal is back though, so we may just have the showcase of the tiebreaker.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's one way to wake your neighbors up.
I mean, just playing any of those maps seems like you could wake up your neighbors with just the sound of your keyboards.
Yeah, but just like that, we have some players returning in the lobby. You can see Vixal, Rezuna. Probably gonna see another team or another member of Vietnam.
Oh, imagine if they play SV2, that would be sick.
Oh, dude, I'm just scared to see how Tokayume and Basil would perform on that. Imagine a Tokayume versus Basil on SV2. That would be absolutely insane. Some of the 2 best SV players in this tournament. But looks like we're going to see a tiebreaker show match. And just waiting for one more player to join in on the side of Vietnam.
Tokiyumi's asking for an invite in the chat. That's kinda cool. And there we go. We start to listen to the emotional clap. And I guess there can be some emotional clapping right now. As 4DM 2024 is now over. It feels like it just started and now it's just done.
I remember seeing the trailer premiere and I was so it was so hype, and now just like that it's just over. Like that's like pretty much all the words I can sum it up. It's just over now. There's only one thing left, and that's to do a tiebreaker show match and then give out the prizes and then just wait till next year.
Seems like we will not be having a storyboard for this one, unfortunately. But we will have a showcase of the players regardless. Toki Yume now joining for Vietnam alongside Big Style and Rick Sisuna. I'm just never gonna get the names right. I've been commentating for more than 10 years and I still cannot pronounce names.
I've been commentating for 1 year and I've being able to pronounce names, sort of.
Literally
I'm
Chad.
Slowly getting the hang of it. But no matter how long you've been in the no matter how long you've been working on the job, you're still doing it. Put that in the inspirational quote book. It doesn't matter how efficient your job is, as long as you're working, that's all that matters. But here we go. Looks like we're just waiting for everybody to ready up. This is... I cannot wait to see these players perform on this tiebreaker. This is definitely a step up from last year's essence of a tiebreaker. It may not be a custom song, but oh my goodness, it is a really good map.
It's a really funky song. I'll give him that.
It's definitely giving like the whole vibe of what like 4-digit Mania World Cup was giving off in the first place, like this like urban, like funky vibe, sort of. Kind of like, I guess like house music, you can kind of say. It's a spiritual thing, but here we go. No storyboard, sadly, but at least we have the playfield.
Sure, so true. But hey, I guess we can take a little bit of a second here as the tiebreaker plays out. Again, to thank all people involved on making 4DM happen. Staff, players, viewers even. Really, thank you all guys on Twitch chat there for being so supportive and sticking around for this insane matches. We have a new champion for once. Vietnam never being here on 4DMs, the first time they won it. United States, a team of a lot of history, really. They crowned champions twice already in the first two editions. They unfortunately came up short here against Vietnam, but they surely had a lot of fun, as pretty much every team has been claiming so far that they had, which I'm very glad to, because the 4DM is just mostly about the fun and the memories more than anything else, I think.
I think the best memory I've had was in 4DM 3. That's because I was playing in it, but that was a whopping 3 years ago. God, I'm old.
Did you play against me on that 4-digit, or did I not play 4-digit 3? No, I played 4DM2.
No, I played... I played against... We played against China, France, and Italy. We didn't go far. Only groups. So, like, it's mainly the people who are not, or who are playing for MWC or staffing for MWC. That's who I went up against.
Oh, I see. But yeah, after this showcase is done, and again, I want to thank once more everybody involved here. Like, everyone on the staff have been working a lot. The map selectors have been insane, like Tommy and Danny, literally carrying the tournament in that regard, alongside Demi and Albion with the statistic work and staff sheets and whatnot. So those are like the head staff that I always want to say thanks to, because they put so much time and effort. But everybody else on the team as well, like the referees, the commentators, the streamers, Ethan, who's also currently streaming right now, thank you. And
yeah,
all the players
think the
as well.
I think the biggest thank you we have to give staffing-wise is to Ethan.
Oh, probably. Yeah, I mean, I just want to thank everybody equally, regardless of the contribution, to be honest, but Ethan has saved us many times.
Yeah, and oh man, like, I'm just looking at this, like, look at this lead. It's so close. As I'm just starting to focus back on the gameplay, as we've just been rambling about, or I guess it's not really rambling, it's just thanking everyone. Thank you guys, everyone who was involved with this. But now I'm just looking at this. It's now flickering back and forth. This lead.
And of course, I mean, I want to take another second to congratulate the Vietnamese team for winning the entire thing. Taiwan and the United States as well for hitting the podium. And honestly, just every team that played on 4DM, really. I hope they all had as much fun as we did. Like, just making the tournament happen as a thing and just everything in that regard. Thanking the artists as well who got us a couple of custom songs. They were all very nice and amazing and refreshing. And of course, all the mappers that helped and contributed to this tournament. There were a lot of custom maps. There was a lot of effort being put by all the mappers that we reached out for, and they requested to help. And we saw a lot of new faces as well, and a lot of refreshing things. And overall, 4DM ends up being sort of a thing that we envision, where we give it the chances to new people to join the community, not just on the playing department due to this being 4-digit, but also on the staffing department, on the mapping department, and pretty much everywhere we can. I think we accomplished that, and I'm pretty happy in that regard as well. And I want to thank everybody once more. I'm never going to stop saying thanks. And with a quarter of the song remaining here, we are about to see the end.
And there goes Tokyo-Ube.
Yep.
And looks like they're back. I also want to just give, I guess I honestly want to say, like, big giant thanks to our storyboarder as well, who did some really sick storyboarding for some of these, for I think most of the tiebreakers, I think, which was our Lord and Savior Promachos, who's done excellent work with storyboarding, especially with this tiebreaker. It was very, very fun. But if there's one thing, it's the QR code for. It's literally unscannable. I've had this thought for ever since this tournament started. But as this map is concluding, as this jazzy piano and just everything just comes to a close, insane scores. Is this? Are we gonna see a 99 from Vexile?
It seems like it is. Yeah, that's kind of insane. I mean, not just
That's
kind
actually-
of. That's just ridiculous.
And as the song fades out, as the playfield begins to show less notes and disappears, only leaving with the background Angry Birds.
There you go.
And 4-Digit Mania World Cup 2024 is officially over.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoy the 4-Digit Mania World Cup 2024. It has been a pleasure to host it alongside Danny, Alvion, Komi. And yeah, let's do a quick recap of the bracket. Talk a little bit about the highlights of the tournament so far. Rather, the entirety of the thing.
Yeah. And
Talk about the good matches we had, the runs, the surprises, very briefly. And then we will go straight into the credits once more to thank, for the very last time, every single contributor. Congratulations once more for Vietnam as they are crowned champions. That's very soon in bracket, and we see the very end of it, the grand finals. Vietnam ends up winning it, and therefore there is no bracket reset. The tournament is over. Vietnam had to go through Czechia and Slovakia, Japan, China, Philippines, Taiwan, and finally the United States. They only swept Japan. That is the only team that did not take a single point out of Vietnam in their way to the tournament title. But otherwise, we saw quite a bit of surprises. I want to say the United Kingdom was quite a surprise through this bracket stage. They took Taiwan to tiebreaker. They defeated Thailand. And Taiwan was also another big surprise. I really wasn't expecting a Taiwanese team that came like literally out of nowhere to challenge for the title, really. They got their place and deservedly so.
And if there was a team that I want to give the absolute, like, to give an underdog, to give the underdog award for, believe it or not, I'd give it to Italy. They had a monumental losers bracket run, and despite losing to the United States in the losers finals, they took out some of the biggest gauntlets in the losers bracket, knocking out the United Kingdom, knocking out Indonesia, knocking out the Philippines. They had an insane losers bracket run, and I think getting a 4th place finish is really good. So I'm gonna give Italy I'm gonna congratulate Italy on that. That was an insane performance from them this year.
I also want to shout out Brazil here on the losers bracket, who unfortunately got knocked out of the winners bracket very, very early after losing a tiebreaker against Japan. But then they tiebreaker their way until the losers semifinals when they get defeated against China. But tiebreakers against Spain and Germany, and 6-4 results against Sweden as well. Quite a run as well for them, which didn't have the better of the seeds, and they were the big surprise, I think, in the losers bracket alongside Italy. But otherwise, the winners bracket looks exactly as expected. Actually, they lost against Peru on tiebreaker, my bad, it wasn't Japan. But even still, this tournament as a whole had a lot of crazy matches. You can see on the winners bracket already, only on the first round we saw a fair amount of sweeps, but otherwise, we only see sweeps here in Vietnam, Japan, USA, Peru, and Taiwan, Hong Kong. Those are the only 3 matches that from round of 16 have been sweeps for the entirety of the winners bracket. And if you go to the losers bracket, it's almost the same story, really. If it wasn't for the United States sweeping their way against Italy, I don't think I see a single sweep from semifinals onwards either. And it's only Indonesia against Japan who is a sweep on the losers bracket at all. And Italy, Russia, because Argentina, Peru was a win by default. So only 3 matches in the entirety of the losers bracket were sweeps. That speaks volumes about how close the 4-digit scene has become and how good the 4-digits are getting nowadays, really. They always have at least something that they can play with.
Yeah, like, seeing, like, especially from last year and, like, today, like, I'm seeing players that have Mania World Cup potentials. And coming from a player that played in MWC, I am hoping to any player that is stuck out and shine the brightest, like to any crazy diamonds that have shined the brightest from their teams, I am expecting you to see you at the big leagues this summer when Mania World Cup 4-Key 2024 happens. I am looking forward to seeing you there. There have been so many outstanding performers this year, and it's just making me excited to see how the next generation of 4-digits will join along next year if we have a 4-digit Mania World Cup 2025.
But for that, we'll have to wait, ladies and gentlemen. This has been it for the 4-digit Mania World Cup 2024. Whatever comes afterwards, it will be in a year's time if it happens. So for now, let's just celebrate and enjoy a successful edition of the 4-digit Mania World Cup and give your kudos to Vietnam and every team that participated here and enjoyed it. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure to me to commentate this grand final and this tournament as a whole, hosting it, and thank you, Walmart, as well for commentating here with me.
Reamer, roll those credits!
It's time for the credits, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you next year, hopefully. Bye-bye.
So long, everybody.
For the